Welcome back to the Flip Side. We are here with Commissioner Terry Baker, moving into another segment of a very hot topic in our county, Fort Ritchie. Ken, what questions do you have for Commissioner Baker on this subject?
So, I know Fort Ritchie for a while was under control of Penmar Development, right? Has it actually been officially turned back over to the county now by deed transfer?
Yeah, the county has received the deed. We
Okay.
do have the deed in place, and right now there's legislation pending for Penmar to be dissolved, the Penmar Corporation, and that should be, I think that's emergency legislation so that it'll take place this year versus waiting until next year. So we have things moving in that regard. Yes, we do have the deed.
All right, and I know, some of the infrastructure and some of the buildings up at Fort Ritchie are getting some age to them. Who's going to have the long-term responsibility for correcting some of the issues that are identified up there, and are there any infrastructure development plans up there at the moment?
Well, as you know, we have water sewer up there,
Right.
and we have a lot of capacity in that community. And as far as the responsibility of who has to be responsible for the environmental issues, the federal government will always be responsible for the environmental issues. And I believe once the buildings, many of the homes up there, we're going to be demolishing them for businesses and so forth to meet the direction of the plan. So demolition will occur up there on all of the homes, and then once they're demolished, the federal government goes in, and then they have to check out the area under the homes and so forth to make sure that it's environmentally sound. So the federal government will be involved in that aspect for forever.
Any plans in the horizon for expanding any of the infrastructure, like the roads, anything like that?
Well, once development occurs in Washington County, if a company comes in there and it's a large company and it's going to be a lot of traffic, then it'll be their responsibility for all of the upgrades to the roads and so forth. And I think if the businesses that I'm hearing are going to be coming to Fort Ritchie, it's going to be it's going to be huge. So there's going to be a lot of upgrades for infrastructure needed in that area.
Great.
Just as a follow-up with what Ken said, as it's developed, setbacks and things, since it's a lot of developments there, roads are there, sewer lines are running, that type of thing, will there still be the setback requirement, or have you zoned it that you can deal with a lot of the specificities of what's already there?
Well, the zoning's going to dictate all of that. So the zoning has been adjusted. I can't recall what it's currently zoned at, but they'll have to follow whatever the requirements are.
Colin, do you want to weigh in on this?
So there's been a lot of conversation about, for lack of a better term, the South Korea connection. So could you talk a little bit about the prospects that we have, and maybe some of the trips and what the county has done to culture that relationship?
Well, we've made 3 trips to Korea, but let's go back to how the relationship really got started. And I really believe how the relationship got started. I believe the JGBLI group had a client over in South Korea that wanted a farmer that wanted to come to come to Maryland, and they were looking for some farmland. They made some sort of a paste and jarred, put it in jars, and I guess just like we eat our salsa, they eat this paste, and I can't remember the name of it. But anyhow, they had met. She came to Washington County, South County actually. She actually put a contract on the farm down there. And she had a real interest in soybeans, and if she would have moved her company to southern Washington County, she would have used every farmer's soybean crop that they could have produced for her product. And then the Fort Ritchie, so that's how we made the connection with the Korean contingent out of Montgomery County, the JGBLI group. And GUN, that's what the G stands for. When you look at JGBLI, the J is his wife's name, I can't pronounce that. G is GUN, and B stands for business, L Link, and the I is international. And they have tremendous connections over in the South Korea. I think a couple of the Penmar committee members went on the third trip over there, and they got to meet a lot of the people. But the prospects of business up there, I've heard theme parks, and the reason that they're excited about the Fort Ritchie property is the elevation. The elevation mirrors the elevation over in South Korea. So, and it's mountainous in South Korea, and so the JGBLI group's real excited about that property, but they've talked to some theme park people, they've talked to universities. The last discussion I had with them, I believe there's 3 major universities, 3 of their top 10 universities are going to be coming over here to look into this Fort Ritchie site to possibly expand their educational opportunities.
That's very exciting.
And when the project first started, you know, we were sitting around as commissioners and they were talking about $400 million of investment. And of course, we were all excited about that. That's just a tremendous amount of investment to come to Washington County. And then you start calculating the tax base and the revenue that's going to be generated. And the last few meetings, they're talking about $2 billion, billion with a B, of possible investment up there at Cascade. So it could possibly be a town, you know, a small town, a new small town for Washington County.
So since we're talking about, you know, new development at Fort Ritchie, and Ron, you were speaking earlier about Chief's involvement with the county, do you have any questions for Mr. Baker on how those are connected?
Yeah, as this whole thing's happened, Mr. President, will our County Business and Development Department and Chief be working with the new developer on the proposed mixed-use, academic, commercial, residential, and recreational plan at Fort Ritchie Cascade? Will we have help? Who will guide that through the whole process?
Well, as you know, we've already entered into a memorandum of understanding with the group that's up there now, and they've already moved all of their offices from Montgomery County to Fort Ritchie. So they're full bore ahead up there, and I'd like to think that we're all going to be involved. Ultimately, the commissioners will still have some say, and we'll give some direction, and the JGBLI group's going to work with the county commissioners. Did you mention the word chief in your...
Yeah, I mentioned Chief because they're quasi-government,
yes,
so there's
yes.
things that they could do to help them overcome some of the obstacles that you know they're going to face.
And I'm
in
sure
that
they're
area.
not. I'm sure we're not going to turn any help away. But I think where it can really be beneficial is when the Koreans, if they want to bring something, say something that deals with technology to Cascade, and it's not a right fit for our plan that we're trying to move forward up there, then that gives them the opportunity to meet with Chief and possibly bring that
Mount Etna Farms.
bring that business to Mount Etna Farm. So to answer your question, yes, we're all going to be involved.
So-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Colin.
No worries. Now, how does this all tie into the state? Is there a piece where the state government needs to weigh in, give approvals? How is that going?
Yeah, how everybody's going to tie in, we're all going to work together. County's going to be, well, the JGBLI group, they're in charge. So when they have questions, concerns, they're coming to the county. And then, of course, when we need permitting, we're going to have to go to the state. So the state will be heavily involved. We want everybody involved because we want it to be a successful project. So, and we want everything expedited. So I don't know if have you ever been to South Korea?
Many years ago.
Okay, when you go to South Korea, it's really shocking. When we got off of the plane, South Korea, they told me, is the size of the state of Indiana. You have 55 million people. So they better know a lot about infrastructure, how to move things, how to get things done, because they have people everywhere. And when you see how they move their business forward in South Korea, and when they come to Washington County or the state of Maryland, they're going to want to be able to move at the same speed. So everybody's going to have to be on board. We're going to have everything in place so that they can come to our community, do a project, and do it in a timely manner.
So I know that Governor Hogan has been, certainly has said a lot of things that are very Western Maryland friendly. What is your thought on whether the state legislature is behind this, is supporting this process?
Well, as you know, The governor's all about jobs. He's all about business, and his wife's from South Korea. And I don't know if he's toured the fort up there yet or not, but I know some of his staff has been there, and we've been in contact with them, and they're all on board. At first, they weren't as excited as we are, but they know it's a real possibility, and they're going to support us in any way that they possibly can.
Perfect.
Well, it sounds like Fort Ritchie has so much potential,
Mm-hmm.
not only for our county, but for our state as well. And we're very eager to see how everything turns out and develops.
And
So-
just in the Cascade area, you know, at one time there was businesses everywhere up there, and once this Fort Ritchie project takes off, there's going to be businesses opening up all over the place up
That's
there.
exciting.
So,
Thank you so much for your comments
thank
on
you.
that. We're going to move into our last segment. Thank you so much. We'll be right back in just a minute.